host, Elijah Fields. I'm here with my good friend, Keishaun. Keishaun, go ahead and tell the people what's going on with you. I appreciate you coming to the set. Go ahead and let everybody know about you.
My name is Keishaun Williams. A little bit about myself. I'm originally from Central New Jersey. Yes, Central New Jersey does exist. But I came down south for college. I attended Radford from 2015 to 2019. I was heavily involved with the women's basketball program there. I was a practice player my sophomore and junior years. And then my senior year, I was able to transition into an internship role with the team. Then upon graduating from Radford, I went on to West Virginia University to obtain my master's in sport management. And then from there, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to be involved in women's basketball. So I hit up the Radford coach to see if, there were any opportunities for me with the team. And they, happily offered me a job, in the operations side of things for the team. So I spent the 2021-2022 season dealing with operations for the Radford University women's basketball team. That was a unique experience, but I think it led me to my current position now, which is a head coach at the Blacksburg Middle School here in Blacksburg, Virginia, for the girls basketball team. So that's just a little bit about myself. And one more thing I will add is I am also an author of a book, which
Yes,
I'm
sir.
to. It's called Better Than Yesterday, which essentially is a book that aims to help people understand that, they'll never be perfect and it's okay to make mistakes. We're humans, so we're all going to make mistakes. But with every mistake comes opportunity and a chance to develop into a better version of yourself. So that's just a brief synopsis of the book. I include some of my personal examples from my life, some of my experiences, just to try to inspire others.
Man, Keishaun, you said a lot of good stuff right there. For those of you who know me, you know that I work for Marshall Women's Basketball as a student manager. And, it's great because, throughout so many games and spending so much time on the road, you get to meet great people. And literally my first game as a student manager, we were at Radford. And, the job of a student manager is, you do the small things. So you go and grab stats. Well, first time I go up to grab stats, Keishaun introduces himself to me. And then after the game, we get to chopping it up. And in my mind, I'm like, this is someone who, I'm eventually going to see again. And funny enough, we were talking about it earlier. He said, one day we'll cross paths again. So, all glory to God. I think he is very good about, recreating opportunities like this. And Keishaun, honestly, he has a lot of good experience. I think I want to go ahead and open up with the first question. What is something you see on the Division I level that it's like mentally that you wish, others could see? Like what is something that's not really talked about as far as the mental health aspect on the Division I level?
Learning to find your place and learning to find your purpose. I think that, everybody struggles with that. Just finding your place in a new environment with a new team, new organization, new job, whatever it may be. Like I said, that's a challenge that we face. But I don't really think it gets talked about a lot. I think that's just something that we as humans tend to, deal with internally and deal with ourselves.
Yeah.
But and that can, it can be beneficial and positive, but it can also be destructive. Because, sometimes you tend to isolate yourself, or, you're trying new things, you're doing whatever to try to, find your place and find your purpose.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, like I said, that can go south real quick. And I don't think that gets talked about a lot. Just because, every single person is dealing with this issue, whether it be coaches or, assistants or student managers even. I'm sure you had, some experience, with trying to find your place and your purpose, for the team. And I think athletes, I think they have it, the hardest, honestly, because, every day there's new challenges presented to them that they have to meet the demand and requirement of. Every day you have to bring your A game, because if not, then you're replaced, you're out of here. So I think that, there needs to be more conversation regarding the internal and external experience, with just finding your place, your purpose, and, your meaning. When you're placed in that position, you got to understand that, you're there for a reason. And, one of your, requirements is to provide that, mental or, emotional, whatever support it is to these student athletes who may come to you with, problems outside of their sport. So I think, it's just really important to be there for them, and in turn, I think that helps you, stay on top of your game as well. When you're, giving advice to these student athletes who come to you, you got to be, mentally sound as well. And, on your game, to be able to provide that advice, because you don't want to be giving advice that's, not coming, from authenticity or, something that you're not sure if it'll work.
Man, that's funny because one of my good friends, he's actually on this season, Marcus Allen. He said the exact same thing you did. Like, no matter who you are or what you do, everybody needs somebody. And I think honestly, if we could keep that as like a fabric throughout all these episodes, man, like, I feel like we can knock down a lot of doors. I want to ask you, what, like, if you could point to a time, what was some of the best advice you ever received as an athlete, and then best advice you ever received as a support staff, and then how are you going to translate that into being a current coach? If you could just take time to tell us a story about that for each one.
Yeah, for sure. I think the best advice I've ever received as an athlete, I hate to do this, but the advice that I received as an athlete and the best advice I received as a support staff, working for Radford, it's the same thing. It's been a couple of years since I've participated in athletic competition. The last time I played organized sports was in high school, and I'm a little bit past that. But the advice that was given to me as an athlete, and as a support staff was just be you. And I don't think that I really, took that in when it was first told to me. Because when you hear, just be you, you think, okay, well, just gonna be me, just gonna do me, just gonna, flow through it and just see how it goes. And that, it helped me a little bit as an athlete because it took some of the pressure off, to not only try to be something that I wasn't, but try to do stuff that was, out of my character or out of the realm of my, talent or qualities or characteristics, whatever you want to call it. It really impacted me, as a support staff when I heard that. It's funny because at the end of the 2021-2022 season, I went up to one of our assistant coaches. It was Nikki Newman, great lady, assistant coach for the women's basketball team. And I was coming to her because I told her that, I was starting coaching. And throughout the season, I had really just admired how she connected with all of our players, how she was able to relate to each and every one of them, and how she was just able to, calm them down, bring them in whenever they were, going off, or, she was the peace on our team. I'll say that. She was the peace on our team. And, I asked her, I said, hey, I admire, how you operate and how you interact with these girls on a daily basis, and me going into coaching for the first time, I kind of want to emulate some of the things that you do. So, what is, some good advice? And she said, the best advice, is just be you. She said that that's really the best thing that you can do. And then she pointed out how she noticed that, throughout the year, it was easy for me to also engage with the student athletes and, kind of cool them down and be their peace. So she recognized that, but when I heard, the words just be you, it kind of hit different, from when I heard it back in high school. That's advice I ever gotten.
I love what you just said because, although this podcast is centered around the mental health, that transpires with an athlete, man, what you said can be applied to any and everybody who is literally going through some sort of adversity in life. And I honestly thought that's like pretty cool for you, how you had that full circle moment. It was like, that was the first great piece of advice you'd been given. And then as you step into another part of your life, like you got it again. Going into this next question, I want you to think about it. Part of what you do, part of what I do, it's to serve others first. Like you're not always going to be the most important person. From a mental aspect, man, just talk about what it takes to put other people first. I feel like this could be used for athletes, coaches, support staff, anybody, because ultimately, what we do is we put ourselves second, third, last. Talk about what it means to put others first from a mental aspect.
It's funny that you asked that because there's actually a chapter in my book titled "Look to Serve Rather than to be Served." And it talks about, going out of your way to serve others first and, being a servant leader and things of that nature. It's not easy. I'm not going to lie. It took me a minute to grasp that attitude of serving others first. But once I grasped it, and once I did it and really put it into action, it really changed my life, honestly, because, when you serve others first, when you put others first, speaking for me, seeing how that makes them feel makes me feel 100 times better about myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, you're going out of your way to serve others first and, tend to their needs and requirements, but it makes you feel good too. But the older I got, the more I realized that, we're here to help other people, right? Like humans are placed on this earth to help other humans. And it took me a while to get that. But once I started putting that into practice and really, acting upon those principles, it really, made all the difference in how I felt, how I operated, how I thought. It wasn't, I didn't have a me first mentality anymore. It really empowers you to, keep doing it and, just to keep, helping others. It's really powerful. But I do want to note that just because, you are serving others, first and not yourself, that doesn't mean that you should, push your own needs and, desires to the side, because, you are somebody too. I am somebody too. I have my needs and wants, you have your needs and wants. So it's important not to get caught up in, serving, that you forget about yourself, because at the end of the day, like I said, you are somebody too, and you matter, but at the end of the day, we're all here to help each other.
Man, say it louder for the people in the back. that was a good point that you just made. As you transition into this next part of your career, because essentially what you have now in front of you is a career. You're going from, constantly serving, watching, and kind of just taking a back seat. Now, you're a head coach, have to run a team your way. To keep the team in the best mental condition, obviously, if I know you like I do, that team's going to be in pretty good shape physically, but mentally, what is that, what does that look like when you're putting a team together? You're coaching and you're just creating that environment. Like what kind of environment, what kind of environment do you feel is best for a coach to create mentally?
And one thing that I told them every single day, that I'm not even going to try to, lecture you or, coach you on skills or, things you need to do better. That will come. I will do that. But first things first, you need to, get these three things in your mind. And the three things that, I called it Coach Key's 3 C's. It was communication.
I love it.
They loved it. It was communication, composure, and confidence. And, if you notice, those things are non-sport related, communication, confidence, and composure. So communication, right? That's, talking for your teammates, that's, communicating on defense, calling out screens early, holding each other accountable, that all goes under communication, because, you're only going to be as successful as how much you communicate, right? You've never seen a winning team or a successful organization, go far without communicating with each other. The second thing was confidence. Said, look, every time you step on that court, you need to act like you belong here, and you need to play like you belong on the court, because at the end of the day, you do. It's easier for me to understand, that confidence can go a long way, but when you're trying to teach that to, younger kids, it can be a little bit more difficult, because, they're going through the stages of trying to find themselves, trying to gain that confidence. And the last thing is composure, so how are you going to react when things go wrong, or when things don't go our way? Because truthfully, things aren't going to go our way 100% of the time. But it's not really, what's important is not what happens to you. What's important is how you react to it. So if, we're facing adversity or some new challenges, are you going to, remain cool, calm, collected, or are you going to, freak out, throw a tantrum, do whatever that'll not only throw you off your game, but throw your peers off their game as well. So those are three things that, I instill into my team every single day. And those are really big mental aspects, in their sport, but also in the game of life. And I just think it's really important, as coaches and as support staff, to implement these mental aspects into your players or into your subordinates.
Now, we've kind of talked about everything up until your book. Let's get into the book.
Basically, the book, it aims to inspire people to understand that they'll never be perfect. As humans, we will never be perfect. I'll never be perfect. You'll never be perfect. Life is going to come with inevitable challenges, setbacks, shortcomings, and failures. But it's, like I said before, it's not really what happens to you in life. It's how you react to it. And I was in a point in my life where, I was experiencing a lot of shortcomings. I was falling short of a lot of the personal goals that I had set for myself, and I was, mainly the reason to blame for that. As I say that I've been through a lot, I'll also say that, God has allowed me to get through a lot. And that really was the main inspiration for this book. It's really in your hands. It really is in your hands. I just want to inspire people to keep going, to keep putting their best foot forward, no matter what situation that they're dealing with, because at the end of the day, we're all dealing with something. But, you could still make something out of yourself, and you could still be, whatever you want to be, despite your past mistakes and failures, as long as you put your mind to it. I'll drop a couple of chapters, just so y'all can get a glimpse or an idea of what the book talks about. This is a quote from my mom. Say, your thoughts control your attitude controls your actions, and your actions control your destiny. And I think that that's really important, because, if, you're thinking negatively up here, it'll definitely show, whether you think it or not. And if you're thinking positively up here, that'll show as well. That's really important, just to be in command of your way of thinking, and just to have a positive mindset through it all. Another chapter that I want to briefly talk about is titled "Eliminate Self-Doubt." And I really don't got to get into too much context with that. That's self-explanatory. Sometimes, we can be our own worst critic. But it's important to eliminate that self-doubt, because, like I said before, you were put in whatever position you were put in because you are qualified and you are capable. So it's important that you tell yourself that on a regular basis, because, no matter what you may be thinking, or no matter what the circumstance may look like, you do belong where you are. And, you're only going to go as high as you think you'll go. I think this is the most important chapter personally. It's titled "Stop Comparing Yourself to Others." I think that's a challenge that, we all face, myself included, even to this day. Just the constant comparisons, and, social media has, a big influence on that. But at the end of the day, it does you no good. It does you no good to compare yourself to others, or to, match your life up with this person's life, or, vice versa, because at the end of the day, what's meant for you will always be for you, and what's meant for them, will always be for them. And it really goes in depth of the importance of staying in your lane, being confident in yourself and your abilities, and just, focusing on your path, your journey, and what God has intended for you. And those are just some of the chapters, that I talk about in the book. Um, I think there is, 21 or 22 chapters, altogether, but, it all falls under the realm of, elevating yourself, internally, externally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, all that. And, I want to say thank you again for allowing me the time to, promote that and, really put it on record.
For sure, man. And honestly, I want to thank you for, writing it, because the thing that I found about books, whoever the reader may be, the author is writing for someone, anybody to connect. And honestly, I feel like a lot of people can connect with that. I know myself, I want to show support, so I will end up buying a copy and reading it myself. And then honestly, we may have to have you back on for a recap, because I'm one of those people. If I read a book, I need to know like about all the double meanings, everything underneath. Before we get off here though, do you have a message, like a personal message? It's always how I like to end here on More Than a Score. You may have already said it, but do you have a personal message that you want to end with?
To the young athlete, to the college athlete, to the professional athlete, to whoever may be listening, main piece of advice I would give is just be you. And I'll kind of add to that, just be you and everything will fall into place. Keep doing what you're doing, keep grinding. I know that, there's a lot of, things going on upstairs, whatever it may be. But it's important to, keep the main thing, and keep doing what you need to do to get to where you want to be. There's no secret to success. It's hard work. It's hard work and dedication, man. That's really all it is, man. So to whoever's listening, be you, and everything will fall into place. And whatever's meant for you, it'll be for you. And whatever's meant for, other people, it'll always be for them.
Man, I love that. I appreciate you joining me today, brother. Couldn't imagine a better guest. Everything you talked about, from advice to sharing your book, it was spot on. And I feel like that's what people are going to need. So I hope, just like I do with every episode, that there's someone who can connect to this and, take it with a grain of salt and run with it.
My man, thank you, bro. And I love what you're doing, bro. Keep it up, man.
Yes, sir.